Hey there, everyone. It is John Seymour, Lee Serial Entrepreneur here. Welcome. This is our second night. We're in episode 2. This is June 5th. For those of you that are joining me for the very first time, you'll notice in the top right corner there is a QR code. Just take your phone and use it to scan that QR code. It'll direct you to my link tree with lots of great information, including a brand new playlist on John Seymour, Lee Serial Entrepreneur, which talks about the last episode, which is the first one we premiered, which was how to start a business. So we're starting to get into that as John Seymour Lee, your coach. I have lots of great insights. So we'll be releasing those once or twice a month. And later on, we'll get them a little more prevalently. And so if you are new, like I said, scan the QR code, show me some love, like, support, love the channel. And, every single week we have a master topic. And then every day we get into that a little more granular. And if you're coming back, welcome back, my friends, colleagues, and associates. It is so wonderful to have you here. And thank you for supporting. And hopefully some of the new people will become loyal just like you guys are. Hey, why don't you go below and definitely before show me some love. And also, I would really appreciate it if you would tag your friends, colleagues, and associates. Comment below how to see the trees and not just the forest. Have you ever heard that before? Okay, so what we're talking about is something interesting. It's tunnel vision. A lot of times people get focused on the tree or the specific thing that they forget everything else in it. I'll give you an example. Let's say you're throwing a party. And if you're focused on the food, well, then you're only focused on the food. You're focused on that tree or that tree. But you're not focusing on anything else. And you're missing the whole concept, like, the band, the DJ, maybe the guest list. There's lots of other things you have to do. And so if you don't get that, then you're going to be scrounging at the last minute. It's like, oh my gosh, I guess there's something else I forgot about. And people become tunnel vision because of stress, lots of different reasons. And so what I'm doing this week is explaining to you guys what this is about and, kind of to be aware of it. Now, when we think about the concept of the trees in the forest, it's really simple. It means we're looking at one without looking at the other. And some people look at the entire forest and they miss the individual trees. That happens too. So that means you're too, so one is you're too specific and the other is you're too broad. You need to have this dichotomy of a balance. If you don't, things kind of go haywire. All right, when do you need this balance? Well, how about if you're painting or you're hiring somebody to paint and you got to pick a color for your room or your home or your office? Now, you might say, John, well, I'm just going to be focused on, what's in my office and, what color I want it to be. And I know that I want it to be, I don't know, eggshell white, let's just say. Semi-gloss eggshell white. And you are so focused on that you miss the fact that eggshell white, let's say, conflicts with something else because you never looked at the entire forest. You just were looking at the tree. Another time this happens is when we think about a party, right? Like I was saying to you, if you just focus on the food, then you're going to miss all the other things. And if you focus on everything and you don't give everything else specific attention, well, then you're going to possibly let something out that's very important and miss that. Now, another thing that happens when we think about the tree in the forest comes in volunteering. People sign up to volunteer, which is fantastic and noble of people. When you do this, you're going to find that a lot of people will just be, well, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And they don't look at the fact that there's 10, 20, 30, 100, or 500 other people volunteering. And so we have to coordinate and be part of a unit. I think the reason that a lot of people don't look at the entire forest and just look at the trees is they become centered about their task and they're not very good with teams. So if you are working on a team, especially if you're on a football team, baseball team, basketball team, soccer team, hockey team, lacrosse team, ski team, tennis team, doesn't matter. When you're on that team, if you are just looking at the ball, only the ball, then you are looking at the tree. You're not looking at the whole forest. You're not looking at the defense, the offense. Where do I get the ball from? Who do I pass the ball to? Right? And so if you looked at the entire forest and looked at everything else, but you weren't focused on the ball some of the time, then you'd miss the opportunity to get the ball when the ball actually comes to you. Now, this sounds really easy, and I get it. It's just that people get sideswiped by a lot of stuff going on in their life. And another time this happens is when you travel. I've had this happen with people. They're traveling, and for whatever reason, they're looking at the tree. All right. And they're looking at the fact that their plane leaves at, I don't know, 6 a.m. in the morning. It boards at 5:30 or something a.m. And you're focused on the plane, and you're focused on packing, and you're focused on all these things. And you're looking at the tree, but you're forgetting the whole forest. You're forgetting the fact that how are you going to get there? Oh, I forgot about that. So this is also very prevalent when we think about things like in law. And many of you guys knew that before I decided to become an engineer, I was looking at law, and I said to people, I can't lie to people for a living, so I became an engineer. A lawyer has to see the trees in the forest and the entire forest. If he just looks at one particular tree and goes before the judge with that situation, well, then let's say the defense will come back, defendant come back and come up with something else, and oh, I didn't think about that. No, because you didn't look at the whole forest, you just looked at the tree. This also happens to people that want to lose weight. Oh, I want to lose weight and I want to watch what I eat. Well, that's great. But what else are you doing? Right? Are you having enough water? Are you having exercise? Are you getting enough sleep? And so seeing the trees as well as seeing the entire forest is so vital to your success. I can't even get you to understand how important this is. Another time this is important, let's say we're talking about building a home. And fortunately, myself and my parents, we've built several homes. And when we did this, if we were just focused on, let's say, building the home, like in one case, we were building a home in South Jersey, our summer home. And when we did this, there's different ways that you can build a home. So you can build it on the foundation, you can use spread footings, you can use pilings. So the town had given us permission to build our home on spread footings. Now, granted, we were right on the water, on our bulkhead there, right on the lagoon. And on the other side of that was the bay, and then about 8-10 blocks in the side was the ocean. And the town had said, okay, you're clear to go build, with spread footings. We're like, I don't think we're really clear. Like, we don't feel comfortable with that, because the town was looking at it as the specific that this is okay and this will be fine. But what they didn't take into account was the rest of the forest, was the fact that there could be things like Sandy and other storms. They didn't take that into play. And because they didn't do that, they just said, you're approved. We went back to them and said, we're not building on spread footings. We're building on pilings. They looked at us like we were crazy. Spent a lot of time and money to have pilings engineered, have them driven into the ground, and then have them cut at a certain point. And then we built the house around the pilings, basically sitting the last piece of the house, the bottom, if you will. So the way the foundation was, it kind of hooked into it, and the house sat on the pilings for a very strong foundation. So foundations are a good example of looking at the trees and the forest and vice versa. Now, another reason that this happens is people get excited. They're winning something, or they're thinking they're going to be successful, which is great. But they don't think about the opportunity, or they don't think about the potential, or having the protection in front of them. Let's talk about a situation. Now, there was a situation that happened about a year ago. I'm not going to mention the exact location. And there was the school. And the school that was let's say it was a grammar school, prep school. And it was a school with all boys. And they had a fire alarm go off. Okay, fire department comes out. About 3-4 weeks later, happens again. They're like, this is getting ridiculous. Third time, fourth time, it keeps happening. Finally, they go down to school and they're like, enough's enough. Like, this is ridiculous. We can't reveal or share anything with you because we're a private school and yada, 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 yada. And it's like, oh, okay. Goes away. And that night, a boy comes to the department by the fire station. And when he does, he goes there, and then on the way back, he's like almost tripping, and then they catch him. And it's almost like he wanted to get caught, but they had nothing on him. The next week, another fire breaks out. And because it's a fire, they have to go. And when they see the school, they're like, another fire. They're again, they're like saying, hope this is a real one. This is not a false one this time. And so they go out there and they waste time. Now, just as they're going out there, another call comes in. I'll talk about that in a minute. And so they get there and the fire alarm goes off and there's no fire. It was somebody that pulled the fire alarm. So the other call that came in was for a real fire. And the gentleman that was in that fire and his wife was, barely being able to breathe with some smoke inhalation, but she was okay. Her husband had fell down, and this great big hot water heater had basically came on top of him, and he couldn't get up. It would take several tons to get that out. And so they can't get to that right away because they're trying to help this school, right? And the chief of the fire department goes in to see the headmaster, and he says, you know what? This is enough. Like, and the headmaster, oh, okay. And he's like, I want to see your cameras. He's like, okay. Comes in, they look at the cameras, and they can't find anybody in the building. So they start looking to see who was last in that area or the gym. And what they conclude is this one kid that they saw go in, but no one ever saw him go out. They didn't find him yet, but they knew he didn't come out. So he had to be somewhere in the gym, locker room, shower, etc. They looked around, they found him in the shower, just kind of like all like in a ball. And it was very interesting because they confronted him, they talked to him. He's like, why would you do this? And the boys at that school were ridiculing him, were making fun of him. So he did this in the hopes that the school would close and get in trouble. He looked at the tree for his own situation. They didn't look at the forest. The fact that not only could he get in trouble, but the fact that he could cause more damage. And let me talk about that. So they get to this place, they get the husband out, they get the wife to have oxygen so she's able to breathe a little better. And they're taking him off to the hospital. And she said, is he going to be okay? And the fireman says, I don't know. We might have been too late. And so they go off to the hospital, just waiting and waiting. And then the chief goes out to talk to this kid again in the school. And he says, what you did, that stunt was really very selfish of you. He says, oh, I know. He said, no, you don't understand. We were called to come to your fire first, and we did. And just a few seconds after we were called to your fire, another alarm came in for a real fire, for a wife that was having a hard time breathing, and for her husband that just fell down to get knocked from this very large water heater he was trying to fix. They had to bring in stuff through the window so they could be able to create like a leverage to create a fulcrum and a leverage to basically, lift it up. And he said, we might have been too late. He said, what do you mean? So that man is still in the hospital. And because of your stunt, we might have not gotten there in time, but you did. We don't know if we did. He's still alive right now, but I don't know if he's going to make it. I don't think we were in enough time. He goes, well, what can I do about it? Plenty. You can come down and you can apologize to him for what you did and to his wife. And they get down to the hospital and they find out the man had passed away. He said he was sorry to the wife. But this is a perfect example of those being selfish and looking at something to solve their immediate need. For those of you that don't know, I did suicide counseling when I was in and regular counseling when I was in college. Before I went to school, there was a gentleman who put a lot of time into helping boys make sure that they and girls to make sure that they understood life, and if there were any problems, they were there. I remember going to college. I think it was my freshman year. And I met this gentleman who did counseling school, and he was a psychologist at school. And I wanted to get involved to become a peer facilitator. His first name was Tuck. I'm not going to give you his last name. And so he was a very nice gentleman. And I had trained to go do the counseling. And I have to tell you that people don't realize when they're in that situation that they're looking at the tree and not the entire forest. Some of these kids wanted to take their lives. And I remember being on the phone with them and just letting them know that they're so important, that so many people love them. I love them. Other people love them. Our team loves them. Their coach, their parents. And I said to them, if you did that right now, you'd never be able to see any of us again. You'd never be able to play sports. You'd never be able to celebrate a victory. You'd never be able to get a great grade like you always do. You'd never be able to have fun with your friends. I said, the only reason that you're contemplating this is because there's something that you're trying to get away from. So I asked the one person, I said, I've talked with you many times. And if you want to talk with someone else, that's fine. But I want to listen. And I said, I want to know what's so important that you would want to give your life up for it. And he comes back to me and he says, John, he says, you make very valid points, but you just don't understand. What don't I understand? And I could kind of tell that he was on something. I knew where he was. I knew his building. And I kept on the phone. I kept talking to him. And I said, why do you want to kill yourself? And why I did this, while I was doing this, I got public safety to go over there to, make sure he was okay so we could get him some help. And I remember him telling me that he can't do it anymore. So what do you mean you can't do it anymore? I'm just going to use his name. I'm going to say his name was Dan. That's not his name. What do you mean you can't do it anymore, Dan? John, I just can't do it. I'm under so much pressure. I'm under so much stress. What can't you do? John, I can't get A's every day anymore. This is getting too stressful for me. I understand. You said I was taking something, and you're right. I am. And so I'm having some conversation with him, and I'm telling public safety just to hang back by texting them. And I said to him, how can I help you? And he says, I don't know. I said, if I could get you off your drugs and I could get you to know that it's okay if you don't get an A, would that make it all right? And that same night, I said to him, do you want to come and talk in person? Meanwhile, public safety was still hanging around there, just making sure everything was okay. And I said, you know where I am in this building. And we had public safety just there, just kind of watching, not stepping in, but just kind of observing. Comes down to see me. Told him it was good to see him. And I said, I want to get you some help, if that'd be okay. And then he told me his parents are making this so very difficult. I said, do you want me to call your parents? I said, that's not going to do any good. Do you want me to call your parents and explain to them what just happened? He's like, they're not going to care. I said, do I have your permission to call your parents with you? He's like, yeah, go ahead. So it's about 10 o'clock at night. I call his parents and I say, hi, this is such and such. You don't know me, from the university, student counseling center. And I said, I'm with your son. And I said, well, what's the matter? I said, well, I have him here in my office. I said, why don't we let him tell you first, okay? He said, well, what's the matter? What's going on? He's like, what happened? He's like, nothing. He's like, I'm not in trouble. Everything's okay. He's like, what's the matter? Why are you in this guy's office? Well, he's just been talking to me. I've been calling them. Calling who? I've been calling the counseling line here at school. Counseling line. Stress, tension. Yeah, I get it. Dad, it's a little more than stress and tension. What is it? Tonight I was ready to take my life. And he just like went dead. I said, are you there? Yeah. And he kind of just went, he's like, he's saying all kinds of words from, Lord, Jesus, Mary, Joseph, etc. He's saying all those things. Why? And he says, do you want me to come up and see you? Meanwhile, his father lives in a place that's across the United States. So for him to get over to him would be over 4.5, 5 hours. And he says, I'll get on a plane right now. And I said to him, Dan, you see how much your parents love you? And he comes to me and he says, John, he says, can I ask you what this is about? Because my son's obviously not telling me. I said, do I have your permission to share with him? Because there's a confidentiality. He says, yeah, you can share. Everything we talked about tonight, just tonight? Yeah. I said, well, your son's just in a lot of stress. He's called us before many times to talk and help him with that, which is what we're here for. But tonight became really serious. Tonight, he was on the verge of taking his life. We had Life Watch and our public safety on guard, just keeping an eye to make sure everything was okay and ready to intervene if there was a problem. I stayed talking with your son, asked him to come down and see me, and he did. And if we could call you. And something else you should know about him, he's really stressed about his grades. I mean, I know he gets A's, but he is so worried about not getting an A for you and your wife that he says he just can't do this anymore. We want him to get good grades. He's afraid that if he gets a B or a B minus or something, that you're going to have a fit. I never told him that. And how long has it been, Dan? About 2 months. 2 months what? Your son's been taking illegal drugs. Now, we're not here to cause any problem about that. We just want to make sure that it's done, and we want to make sure that that person no longer provides that, whether it was for pay or not. We don't care, and we're not looking to arrest anybody. We just want to get the action stopped. As long as we can get them to stop at the other end, and he's going to tell us who this is, and he makes sure that there's never any contact about this again, we'll leave it there. But if this becomes an ongoing thing, or we see that drugs are being brought back in, this may become a police matter. And he goes, well, where do we go from here? I said, well, we have some programs, and one of our head people here, Ted, runs one on campus, who's a licensed and registered psychologist and substance abuse specialist. And the program basically meets 3 times a week. And I think your son really is reaching out because he wants help. And I don't think your son really wanted to kill himself. He was going to do it, but he reached out to us for help because he wanted to get back on track. Am I correct, Dan, or am I way off track? He's like, I call you whenever I'm stressed, and I called you tonight because I was going to overdose tonight. And you were hoping that we could help you. Yeah. I just want the pain to stop. What kind of pain? I get stressed, and I feel like I need to take something. And he says, do you want me to come up there? And he says, you don't have to. He says, I want to come up there. So, okay. His dad flies out that next morning early. And that's a perfect example of the trees and the forest. If Danny didn't see the fact that there was a whole forest and not just a tree, Danny would have taken his life. So this stuff, ladies and gentlemen, is so powerful that you might not appreciate it unless you know somebody that's been in it. Or if you're in a situation in life where you just seem so tunnel vision, it doesn't have to be about drugs or any kind of illegal things. It could be about anything. But making the choice to see the trees and see the forest is a choice. And sometimes people need help. Like in Danny's case, to know that he's loved, to know that there are other people that would miss him if he wasn't here, to know that It's okay not to be perfect sometimes. And I remember the end of that evening, I think it was 11 o'clock, or he came in 11. I think it was around 1 o'clock that he left my office. And before he left, we wound up just having um, um, I think it was just like a soda or something. And I said to him, "Are you going to be okay?" And he said to me, "I'm just scared." And I said, "Do you feel like going back to your dorm?" He said to me, "I don't really want to be alone right now." He said, "Could someone stay with me till my dad gets here?" I was done counseling about 1 o'clock that night. There was a chair in my office, two couches, and I asked him just to show me, empty his pockets, and make him show me that he didn't have anything else on him, and he didn't. And I said, "If you want to stay here, you can." And he says, "Well, who's going to stay with me?" He's like, "I can't stay alone." And I said, "No, I'll stay here with you." And I didn't know what to say there because my counseling was going till whatever it was, 11 or 12 o'clock, whatever it was supposed to be ending. And at that moment, I felt like I really did something to help him. And about 10 seconds later, he came up to me and he gave me a hug. And I said to him, "Danny," I said, "what's this for?" "For being there, for being my friend, for helping me get the additional help that I need." And I said to him, "Danny, I know I'm an upperclassman and you're just a freshman, but if you ever need anything, I'm always here." And then I did something for him that I've never done for another person in counseling. You're not supposed to become emotionally involved, but I took a personal interest in him and wanted to make sure he was okay. And I said to him, "If you need anything, anything," and I told him where I lived. That's something you normally don't do. And I said, "If you have any problem, please come and get me. Please call me." And he just stood there. And the next morning, we slept quite a while. I think till almost 10 o'clock. And it was about maybe 12 o'clock that we got a call on the crisis line. And I answered and I said, "How can we help you?" And he says, "Oh, John." I said, "Yes." He said, "You're still there?" I said, "Yeah, I was here all night." He says, "Where's my son?" I said, "Your son's right next to me." He says, "Whereabouts are you?" I gave him the address, how to get to our office, where my office was. And he said, "Thank you." I said, "You're welcome." And he comes to our office. He brings us, like breakfast from McDonald's, like pancakes and orange juice and milk and whatnot. And I shook his hand. I said, "I'm such and such," and father came to me and he hugged me and he says, John, he says, you're unbelievable. I said, what do you mean? He says, you're going way above the call. I said, well, Danny's special. I said, I help everyone, but I want to make sure your son's okay. I don't know what to say. Danny knows that if he ever needs anything, I'm here. And his father hugs me and he says, thank you for saving my son. I said, I didn't do anything. I just talked to him. And his son comes up and hugs him. He said, John did. He saved my life. And I didn't know what to say. Didn't know what to say. But to have a moment like that is so touching. When you can make somebody believe that they're worth it, that's just priceless. I've helped many people on the crisis line, but I don't think I ever had one that close. One that was getting graphic and one that was literally on what I call like suicide watch. And I know that if we didn't bring him back down to the office, we would have been watching him like a hawk. And after he met his father and he met me, I introduced him to the other gentleman, Tuck, who would be running the other program. And I told him that it's really important that during this time that you're all there and you're supporting him. I'm here, but he needs you as well. And I said to Dan, I said, we have you. I said, you have me, you have your father, your parents, you have Tuck, you have our team, your coach. Reach out to us. I said, you can reach out to me anytime you want, day or night. And I'm sure your father will probably say the same thing. And you just saw tears on the father's face. Because there could have been a possibility that he came to school one night or received a call from our public safety team that his son wasn't with us anymore. So looking at the trees and looking at the forest is really important. And knowing that when you do something, you need to understand everything that's affected by that. I know this was a long one here tonight, ladies and gentlemen, but I felt this was really important. I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. It's been a privilege, a pleasure, and honor. It's been a little moving tonight, I know. But I want you to really understand that looking at the trees and looking at the forest is something that will greatly affect your success in life. Please be sure to tag your friends, colleagues, and associates. Share this out with everyone you know on social media. And then go to my YouTube channel, John Space, E Space, Morley, Space, Serial Entrepreneur. And look for that key phrase, help keep our content free. And then make the choice, ladies and gentlemen, to buy my team and I a cup of coffee. We'll be so grateful with those pennies and dollars by clicking on that link under my channel, John C. Morley, Serial Entrepreneur on YouTube. That we'll invest into new hardware, new technology, new equipment, new software, new facilities, give you the most jaw-dropping, motivational content to get you off your butt into action to live the dreams of your life. Sometimes the most important thing in life is what's not said. I hope you have a great rest of your Sunday night as we're just about trickling into the Monday morning, and realize that you have a choice in life. Look at the trees and look at the forests and how the entire picture comes together when you look at them together, as opposed to just looking at them as a separate unit. I hope you have a great rest of your night, and I will see you, later on tonight. And I know this was a moving story. We don't have these moving stories every night, but I think it's good to have them. I think it's good. It's all about being human. So have yourself a great rest of the night. We'll see you soon. Take care.